your customer is about to stop shopping on your website.
That's a bold open, Jesse.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe some of them anyway. Google is getting ready to change where shopping happens. It's one of the many things that they announced this week at Google I/O.
Yeah, and this is only bad if you haven't been paying attention and you're not paying attention, which you obviously are because you're watching
Because you're
this.
here.
It could be huge for you, an opportunity to re-rank in a new important place. Plus, they announced some really fun video and image creation tools.
Yeah. And a new way customers can search YouTube, what that means for you if you're creating content on YouTube, an AI that runs your inbox before you wake up.
Yeah, and there's so much more coming this year.
Yeah. This is the Shift AI show presented by Aweber. That was our Google Doodle version of the Shift AI show stinger.
What did you use to make that one?
Flow.
Oh, cool.
One of the things that we're going to be talking about today. And it was interesting. I don't, mixed result, but hey, that's part of it, right? Some of it good, some of it bad. So let's before we get into demoing a few of the things that are immediately available. I mean, I know a lot of what was announced this week is not yet here. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. But Chris, what were some of the things or maybe things that maybe stood out to you? What were some of your thoughts on Google I/O? Like, were you pumped for it? I know you felt like Google was lagging a little bit. Have they changed any of that perception in your mind?
Yeah. No, not really. So, and to be clear, I think Google is lagging in terms of the way they're innovating, but I think what they're doing with these products is still really important just because of the impact or the influence they have on the internet.
Yeah.
So I watching Google I/O this year, they have some cool stuff for sure. But basically everything that I saw them demo reminded me of something that Anthropic or OpenAI has created, or there's maybe like a really cool open source project like Hermes for agent orchestration, or OpenClaw. So it was like I wouldn't say I was really wowed by anything. The things that really did stand out were stuff that I'm like, oh, cool, they're doing that thing that OpenAI is doing, or they're doing that thing that Claude is or Anthropic is doing. I'd
Yeah.
love to see what they're doing differently,
Well, and I kind of wonder, given their resources, their track record, like, are they going to be able to is it okay for Google to just be like, oh, we're going to do that thing that they're doing, but because of our resources, we're actually going to do it better in the long run. And I'll
Yeah.
be anxious to see that and watch that.
Or even just the fact that a lot of people, most people still just use Google when they're searching for something. The fact that they've built so much of this into the Google and YouTube search experience is the thing that means, like, regardless of if OpenAI or Anthropic did it first or even did it better, Google's just going to inherently touch more people with their version because it's what people use today.
Yeah. I mean, they announced that their AI search has reached 1 billion with a B monthly users. I mean, so they've got the reach they don't have to worry about lagging for too long, right? I also thought it was interesting because I think some of this stuff is a little bit exciting. They announced Google Pix is coming based on their latest Nano Banana image creation model. It seems like a direct response to ChatGPT's Images 2.0 and recognition that Nano Banana was lagging behind that. So I think that they're pushing to keep up with some of the maybe more interesting stuff. Some of it is also kind of maybe mundane's not the word, but Google products help with some of the more mundane tasks in our daily lives, whether that's our calendars or our information, finding recipes, whatever. So I think some of the stuff that they're doing may not be like the awe-inspiring stuff that we see with some of the other platforms and tools, but they announced Daily Brief, which was based on one of their labs projects that's coming, and that's gonna on a daily basis, it's going to look at your emails and your calendar and other sources, and it's going to give you a short brief on like the top priorities for your day and the things that you need to take care of. Like, that's not like super exciting, but it is really practical and useful. And especially I think about it like to small business owners. It's like, I would love to wake up to that and know how to prioritize my day because there's never enough time anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it is very cool, but like that stuff is stuff that you could already do through
Yeah.
like routines in Claude and ChatGPT through the Codex app or wherever you want to do it. So I think I agree with you. I think it's cool, and they're going to make it accessible to a lot of people who aren't already using those tools. Watching Google I/O just made me really feel like if you want to learn uh, what the patterns of the future are going to be,
Mm.
look to Anthropic and OpenAI for right now, because Google
Yeah.
is still behind. And I'm not really
Yeah.
talking about their base model. Google is like, they have some of the smartest AI researchers at Google, and they've had
Mhm.
them there for longer than OpenAI and Anthropic have even existed.
Yeah.
So, so much of the foundational research that led to these companies came from Google and Google affiliated researchers figuring out what AI should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the products that they're actually releasing, they're just a step behind everybody else. Other than I was playing with Google Omni, which is their
Yeah.
video creation and editing model. That thing is pretty darn
And we're
cool.
going to show that in a little bit, right? We're going to play with that a little bit
Yeah.
today. Before we do, let's talk about universal cart. We kind of teased it in the beginning about how consumers are going to change their shopping behaviors. Um, we'll explain what it is. For starters, it's not coming until this summer, and so that's not to say don't start thinking about this now, but it's not going to immediately affect you today. It may affect you in ways about how the things that you're doing to ensure that your business is discoverable or your products are discoverable. But what's universal cart?
So at the simplest level, it's like one hub that like uh, aggregates products that you're considering primarily through agentic search. So you search for products in Google, and it is able to understand products from stores all over the internet and let you shop
Mhm.
in a single place, handle them through a single cart that your agent can populate for you and check out for you in. What that means, practically speaking, is if this actually works, people are going to be able to conversationally through the Gemini app or other apps, I'm sure, be able to search for products. Like say I
Mhm.
wanted to, I'm hosting a birthday party and I need
Yeah.
to get all of the decorations for the birthday party and some gifts. I could conceivably plan the whole party, describe the theme, and then say like, okay, build me a shopping list of things I'm going to need for the birthday
Mhm.
party. Fill my cart, um, and find a gift for this person who likes these things, who loves to mountain bike. And then I could conversation get those results back, pick the things that I want, and check out all through chat without having to go to any of
Yeah.
those individual sites.
Yeah.
That is universal cart.
It also looks for like deals and price drops for you too. So if you're looking for like a product that's available for multiple, it's actually going to try and find you the best option. Now, how
Call
it's
me a
biasing that,
little
I wonder.
cynical. Yeah. I might be a little cynical there because like
I should
Google
okay.
has,
Let me reframe that. They claim it does this.
yeah. Like Google makes a lot of money and they don't make a lot of money. They do make a lot of money by in some cases being useful for people. In a lot of cases being useful for people, but they make a lot of their money through ads and
Yeah,
through people paying to promote their products. So time will tell if this is something that really, if it does benefit consumers more or if it benefits Google most.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we know the answer to that. Probably. I mean, non AI search, traditional search, like your first what 6 results
Yeah.
nowadays are through paid
3
revenue.
pages worth of search
Like
results are
yeah, paid search
promoted.
results before you get to anything organic. So I think we know the answer there. And
Yeah.
then yeah, we talked about Daily Brief a little bit, Gemini Sparks coming. These are things that are available in the market elsewhere. But to your earlier point, Google bringing these to market, I think there's just uh universe of consumers that are going to go, well, I'm more comfortable with Google products, so I'm just going to use their version of it rather than routines or whatever on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it might be. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know that I was like, there wasn't one thing that blew me away, but we did find two things that I think are interesting. One,
Well,
I think, is
before
oh yeah,
jumping on there's something like important about Universal Cart
mm,
is that on the technical side, it relies on these two protocols. And you don't have to worry about this too much, but
yeah,
it's important when you're thinking about where you host your shopping cart. The first is called Universal Commerce Protocol, and that's something that they developed in cooperation with a bunch of people, including Shopify.
mm,
And that's a way for like think of it as a single way for people to understand, or for not for people, but for agents to understand products. It has a
mhm,
standard set of data about the product. And then the other is the agent payment protocol, which I believe is actually, I don't know if that's Google specific, but that's a way for agents to be able to create one-time payment tokens. So you're not giving your
mhm,
agent your credit card details that then it is sharing directly with whatever it's buying from. It's able
right,
to create these secure tokens to make purchases.
yeah,
And the reason why that's important is not you don't have to know those protocols, but those are things that you'll want to make sure that your e-commerce store, if you sell online, is compatible with those protocols, so it will appear in these product searches.
yeah, yeah,
Shopify
absolutely. And I
is. So
think,
if you're using Shopify, you're good.
yeah, and I think, and I would suspect that you're using a known platform like Shopify, uh, if they're not already, um, other platforms, they will get caught up there because obviously they want their users to be discoverable. But you want to make sure that you're using a platform that is. Um, all right. Anything else on any of those before we jump into a couple of things that we actually maybe found worth showing and demoing,
Yeah.
as opposed to, I mean, look, so much of what they announced, I can't tell you how many times. They have a great blog post about like 100 things we announced at Google I/O. And I can't tell you how many times I almost wanted to do like a word search. How many times is the phrase rolling out this summer in this in this post? Because so much of it I feel like isn't here yet. But there are a couple of things that are already available to either everyone or to Google AI Pro or Ultra users. And I think we want to show a couple of those. So let's start with yours.
Okay, cool. The thing I thought was coolest was Gemini Omni, which is Google's new model for creating video content and
Mhm.
editing video content. So Omni right now is only available to paid Gemini users, but you can be on the cheapest paid plan, which is like $7 a month or something, and still use Omni. So
Yeah.
I went in today, and I have a dog called Munchie. This is like if you watched the our episode about video creation tools
Mhm.
in the past. This is Google's answer to those tools.
Mhm.
And what I did here is I created a character for Munchie, who's my dog. I based it on a bunch of pictures that I had of him. I fed it
Mhm.
to this, and it created it, the model. So this is what it thinks Munchie is.
And just as a reminder, like the characters is a really cool capability, and we saw a similar feature in like Artlist and some other platforms have some of those things. But like it allows you to insert a recurring character in different scenes without it kind of reimagining
Yeah.
what you described each time.
And a really neat usability tip for you all is if you're in Flow and you hit
Mhm.
the at symbol, it lets you reference things. So I
Mhm.
could just hit app and then start typing Munchie, and then I have it referenced right there. And you can see the
Yep.
little screenshot that it recognizes that I'm talking about the character. So I could say, make a video of, and then the at symbol, Munchie, and then write whatever the video is that I wanted to create. But the thing that I thought was really useful here was to compare Omni, the new model, to the most recent model, which was VO 3.1.
Mhm.
So I did that, and this one is VO 3.1.
Not only does Munchie look a little different, Munchie's a interesting climber.
Yeah, like he climbs in this really weird way that doesn't. One of the claims of Google Omni is that it has a better understanding of the world and
Yeah,
physics and how things actually work. You can see that like this climbing here, it's just weird. It
yeah,
like weird is the best way to describe it. And then when the dog is like biting at the toaster, it's clipping through solid objects,
yeah.
which is like this is still impressive when you think about
Well,
it. But
I did want to say, I was like, I don't want to completely destroy VO3 because I think we lose perspective on like how far we've come, right?
yeah,
Like it's still insane that it creates these like handheld movements, this very realistic scene. Other than the climbing, a dog that looks like a dog, um, but yeah, like I feel like it used to be like if you were going to create like a kind of a scene or a narrative, you had to create like these short little clips, keep refining them, be like have super tight stuff, and then assemble it.
yeah.
I feel like some of that could change, make our
Yes,
lives a little
and
easier.
that's the other big thing here is this is one shot. Keep that
Yeah,
in mind. It was one
yeah,
solid shot. I didn't tell it anything about shots, so that's the decision it made. You can see my prompt here. I said, make a video of Munchie climbing up on the kitchen counter to get some toast from the toaster. Use this reference image of the kitchen. And then I included Munchie as a character and an image from the kitchen. And then just as a reference, this is an actual Munchie.
yeah.
So happy
So you
to
can
go,
kind of see him.
hi.
I
Do you
love
want to
that
go for a
dog.
walk? Should we go for a walk around the block? Yeah.
Okay, so this is what VO produced. Doesn't really look like Munchie at all. Weird physics, whatever. This is the first video from uh, Omni. So that is
I'm,
just like objectively a better result from that same exact prompt, just a
yeah,
different model. A better understanding of physics and space, like when you look at the way it interacts with the world, multiple shots. Now there's like a little bit of consistency issue here where in this shot,
there's a lack of continuity, but
yeah,
you could probably prompt that.
yeah. I the prompt I gave it was two sentences. Yeah, and like we always say, if you give a vague prompt, you're gonna get a unspecific response. You know, you're
Yeah,
gonna get something with a lot of creativity, and sometimes that creativity leads to issues. But much better. I did another version just to make sure that this wasn't a fluke.
yeah,
That again is pretty
yeah,
darn good. Pretty realistic. Now I could prompt to make it better if I wanted to. Um, VO is really cool about doing that,
yeah,
but just like one shotting these two videos, it's just incredibly impressive.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think I feel like as with any of the tools that we've talked about on the show, but especially with the video tools and the design tools, I feel like or I should say like the visual tools, I feel like my assessment is like, A, is this usable? Like looking at that VO one, it's like I would throw that out. Like you can't if you can't use that clip where the dog like oddly climbs the cabinet, right?
yeah.
But if it is usable, like looking at Omni, it's also like how close does this get me to a finished product? Like how much work do I have to manually do afterwards? The fact that they're actually assembling uh uh a narrative from multiple shots in this scene, even adding some music underneath it, adding
Hmm.
sound effects when he crunches the toast, um, I'm so much closer to something that I am ready to put out there, and I don't have to go, okay, cool, it generated these things. Now I got to spend hours like tweaking, editing, whatever. Um, it's pretty impressive. It's a pretty big leap.
Yes. Yeah. While I'm waiting for this to jump, one of the things, or to finish, one of the things that Google talked about was updates to Gemini itself. And this
Hmm.
is Gemini. If you've used Gemini before, you could tell that the look is already different.
Hmm.
Um, it looks fine. I'm a designer. I think like it looks fine, whatever. But they have released a new model in Gemini as well called Gemini 3.5 Flash, which is supposed to be, among other things, much, much faster than previous models. And they also say comparable models.
Hmm.
from other companies. I haven't really tested that yet, but just looking at the benchmarks of what they're saying is true, it's pretty darn fast. But
Mhm.
the other nice thing about this is it is supposed to be much more of a multimodal model than before. So it can understand and produce not just text, but images, video, even potentially 3D experiences. And one of the neat things here, I'm going to see if I can get it to work here, is how does a black hole work? Gemini has started adding something. I am actually not sure if this has uh, this is finished yet, but we've already seen this in Anthropic's Claude and in ChatGPT. You can see this actually in Aweber's ChatGPT app. When you ask for certain types of information or from information from connected apps, it won't just return text and images, it'll actually return user interfaces that you can play with. So in the case of Aweber, what that would be like is if I asked it to uh, in ChatGPT right now, if you ask it to give you information about a subscriber, it'll show you the information about that person on your email list, as well as some graphs and things, and interactive recent emails that you can click
Mhm.
into to see more information about them. But that didn't work. Let me see. Show me an interactive example of how black holes work. This might not be in Gemini yet, but this was part of the demo that was pretty interesting to me. Okay, so it is generating an interactive visual, and it's doing this on the fly. Like, it doesn't have a set of a bunch of
Yeah.
different visuals it can pull. It's actually writing code or displaying code to illustrate whatever concept that it's going to illustrate for me. Um, and while this is waiting, I'm going to jump back over here. Oh, actually, no, that's ready.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah. Well, heck, it's not ready. I'm going to jump back over into Flow, and it's given me a new version. So, like, this was the original version. Let's check it out. So there's that dog. I gave it kind of a vague thing. I told it to shorten the snout and make the dog smaller. Doesn't look like it to start, but let's see. That looks like basically the same video. So that did not
Yeah.
work.
I found
Uh,
that I found that too. I was playing with a silly like Google Doodle stinger for the show today, and I tried to prompt changes several times, like, very explicitly. The first version it created, it added this like kids cheering. And I was just like, no, that's weird. Like, we don't need that in there. And I very explicitly was like, remove the music and the cheering sounds. And it just 3 or 4 times it would give me a new version that was identical and nothing had changed. So I think there's definitely a little bit of like growing pains, like some of that, maybe prompting is not being retained in Flow with Omni, but obviously, like that, it's only going to continue to improve. And if this is where it's starting, I think it's a much stronger model.
yes. Did this one have the music? I saw a question about suppressing the music.
I do think, did it put the toast in the slot?
Okay, so I'm going to say remove the music, but leave the other sounds. This was a question from Successful Service Business.
Yeah.
And the reason for this was if you're producing multiple clips, you don't want just random music that's going to cut after every clip.
Yeah. And if Chris has the same experience here where I was unable to prompt it after the initial generation to remove something, I wonder if you might have more success in being explicit in your initial prompt, like add sound effects, do not add any music.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm going to try it. We'll kick that off. And now back over here, this is again just in Gemini. It built this on the on the fly, and it's built something where I can actually tweak the size of the or the mass of the black hole, and then the actual exercise is launching a little prompt or a probe from here and seeing how the black hole affects its movement. So we'll launch that probe,
Oh,
and it shows you how,
I think you need a
given the
different launch
mass,
angle.
yeah. So given the mass of the black hole, oh, and it even changes on the
Oh,
fly.
in real
That's so
time.
cool. Yeah, so that's neat. I mean, it's a neat thing because what it speaks to is a future where you can just use one of these apps like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude and just ask it or tell it that you want it to do something in a
Mhm,
program that you use. Like, hey, I want to see my schedule for the next week. Uh, so I can plan a meeting, and
mhm.
it could show you an actual interactive calendar right then and there without you having to go to a calendar and maybe use a chat there. You'll just be able to do more and more of your whole internet experience through
Mhm.
these apps.
Yeah.
Uh,
Successful service businesses also asked, how do you get into Omni from ChatGPT? This is in Gemini or Google Flow, rather. Sorry.
yes. Yeah,
Uh,
so you can't through ChatGPT use um, Google Flow, Gemini Flow. Flow is a Google model that you could use through the API if you built an app of your own. But when it comes to the actual chat app on your phone or on your computer that uses it, it's through Gemini, Google's
mhm,
product. And then OpenAI has their own API or their own models for generating things. They have Sonnet and Opus for generating text and sometimes images. And Claude does not do, or Anthropic does not do image generation, although it can understand images as an input.
yeah.
Let's
Uh,
see. Before I hand it back off to you, Jesse, let's see. It says that it uh, gave me a new version here. So let's see. Did it actually? Oops. What did I just do? So here we are. Let's see. No, it didn't remove the music.
Now, but I do
The heck?
wonder if like being more explicit up front on the initial generation to never
But then
add
what's the point
music.
of having the edit prompt box if it
Oh, I
doesn't
mean,
respect any of
I
your
think
prompts?
that's one of the things. That was one of the first experiences I had was like, okay, interesting animation of this thing that I gave it, but then um, iterating became frustrating
Yeah.
immediately because it just wasn't doing the explicit thing that I asked. So yeah, I mean, like, how we'll have to see improvement there for it to be truly useful. Because if you have to one shot every single thing and live with what it gives you, that's going to be costly in terms of tokens and time. Definitely needs to get better at retaining iteration for sure. But I'll be honest with you, like that's similar to what some of the early I felt with some of the early Gemini image creation stuff. Iterating was maybe one of its weaker points.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Flow is currently, or the Omni model, Flow is available to all Google AI users, but the Omni video creation model in Flow, I believe, is only available right now to Pro and um, Ultra plans.
I'm on whatever the cheapest one is.
Plus?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe it's available to Plus as well. I may be wrong. I think they mentioned Pro and Ultra, but maybe it's more broadly available than I realized.
Yeah.
Welcome Where said we're using Gemini through our company Google Workspace. I tried out the video production, but was limited to only 3 per day, limited to 10 seconds with a pro account. Did you run up against any generation limitations?
I didn't, but I haven't been really pushing it too hard. These are all
Yeah.
6-second clips, so they're also fairly small.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure, and I wonder if that's dependent on your workspace as well, or
Yeah.
workspace settings or plans. All right,
All right.
cool.
Last
Anything?
last one.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
asked it to add a hat to the dog and remove the audio. I asked it to add the hat so I could make sure that it
That it was
actually made the
actually
change.
iterating. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. There's the hat. But the music is still there. Oh, God. That hat looks cute, though.
Cool beanie, though, you know.
Nice job.
All
right, cool.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and I think it's worth in a little while, like whether it's in a month or whatever it is, like we should probably revisit Omni and Flow and compare it to maybe some of the other things available, see if it's gotten better at some of those things, and maybe even just like a practical use case of like, hey, let's make a 30-second ad for this business type or something and see if it can really pull it off.
Yeah, that's
but definitely promising. Definitely promising. I don't know. The iteration makes me question if it's like immediately usable, like practically.
Yeah, especially compared to some of the other video tools that you demoed just a couple weeks ago. Flow is cool. It seems like it's fun to play with. I'm not sure I would rely on it as part of your like production process.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like if you're choosing to use Flow, it's you're choosing it because of the platform and the platform's capabilities, not necessarily the model that it's using for video creation. Because like we looked at Artlist Studio, we looked at several other video tools, and most of them have access to VO, Google previous.
I'm sure they have Omni.
And I'm sure if they don't already, they will have access to Omni. So if and with some of those like Artlist, you also have access to other video creation models outside of Google's. I don't know if that's the case in Flow. Is it just, do they only give access to their own video models?
Here, let's take a look. Oh, it looks like I am out of credits for the day, but the only I remember seeing were, VO and Omni. That's what's there.
Yeah.
Not surprising. It's a Google product. They're using it to showcase their models.
So again, unless like their studio platform is like, or Flow is that much superior, I don't know, there's a part of me that's like a product like Artlist or one of those other ones that has access to Google models for creation as well as Kling and all these other ones. I don't know. I'd probably still lean that way until they were just heads and tails above.
Yeah, same.
Cool. One other thing we wanted to show today, and this is a pretty short demo, but I think it's important for any small business owner, creator, entrepreneur that's creating content for YouTube. For a while now, it's mattered that like longer form content has chapters. We've known that Google search likes it. It likes to surface search results based on chapter markers, but they've become exponentially more important since this updated rollout from announced at Google I/O, and that's Ask YouTube. They've it's available to right now to premium YouTube users. I think those start at like $10 or $20 a month or something like that. And I suspect in time we'll roll out to everybody. I think Munchie.
Sorry, my daughter is crawling along the floor.
I thought Munchie was making an appearance.
Thank you so much, Els. I appreciate it.
I thought is she rescuing Munchie from the show?
No, she brought me a coffee. It was very sweet. It's a half day today.
Yeah, I know. I can hear mine downstairs saying she should come in and say hi next time. Although that was a lot funnier. So Ask YouTube. It's currently available on YouTube premium plans, but it's changing the way that they produce results. And as a result of that, it should be changing the way that you think about creating content and ensuring that your content is clearly identifiable, chaptered, clearly labeled, clear description. I'm going to give you an example here. And this is not necessarily a business case, but let's say I'd like to learn how to teach my kid to ride a bike. And I'm going to search with Ask YouTube. And it's going to basically curate a series of content to answer that. So it seems to be fairly like templated, where it's going to give you maybe its top full video result. Hey, if you can hit that spot, great. Ignore everything else I'm saying. But for most of us, if you're not winning that top full, video result, it's actually giving me a step-by-step guide. But what's interesting here is, okay, so teaching them to ride a bike. The number 1, push, stride, and glide. Number 2, steering, maneuvering. Number 3, the 2 o'clock pedal start. These are from 3 separate videos, and it's isolating and targeting specific chapters within those videos for each of those steps. So it's not just saying, here's the top result based on engagement and view time and things like that for the entire series, but rather it's distilling it into steps using a variety of sources. So I just think it's really interesting. As a consumer, I think it's going to be a interesting shift in how to search and how to find YouTube content. I think you said something about this pre-show, and it hit me. I feel pretty old and hard. Like I struggle to adapt to some of these new patterns, so I'm not sure how comfortable I am with it yet.
Yeah.
But as somebody creating content, I mean, I think about it with a shift show, right? We chapter and label our content with timestamps. Are we doing it as well as as specifically and clearly as we should be to make sure that we're showing up in these kinds of things, and all of anybody watching that creates YouTube content, it's that much more important. And it's not just chaptering your 20-minute videos, your 40-minute videos. Chapter with stamps your 3-minute videos to make sure that even if there's just like 20 seconds of really valuable content that YouTube would be able to use, so that they're including it here.
Yeah, it's so funny though, because this is where the old man part of me is like,
oh, dude,
who would want a step-by-step guide where you have to watch 3 separate videos and switch between them? Like, I want one video. Like when I want to learn how to do something, I want one video. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting to me too is so I actually hadn't tried. So I guess I can hover to watch the portion that it wants, and I can just keep going, because otherwise it feels like real disconnected. Like if I have to click into one of these, then what do I have to will it seamlessly create a playlist? Do I have to come back? If balance. I do click into it, I'm like,
either way, once the pedals are off, you can get started.
So, but I guess you can hover to watch the portions that they want to show you. There's a part of me that's like, look, if I don't have to sit through somebody's, because it used to be like, right, you would create like the long form video to draw people in, up your view time, boost the algorithm, things like that. And then as a consumer, I'm like, how much of this do I have to sit through to get the 30
I don't know. I just
it's actually going to help
forward,
me?
Forward.
Yeah. Well, now they're saving you from that. But
now I've got to watch 3 different videos. I don't know.
And how good of a job are they doing at ensuring that these steps, that there's continuity? Does this process make sense? Yeah. Now, it's how I taught my kids. It really is the push, stride, glide, then steering, then the pedal start. So I think it's doing a decent job off of this simple example, but I wonder with more complex things, is it really outlining the right steps and content from these disparate sources?
Yeah.
But anyway, definitely worth keeping an eye on. This is, like I said, it's rolled out to premium YouTube users already. I suspect that this will eventually roll out to everybody. And then in time, I would not be surprised if this was, in some way incorporated with Google AI search, even in, some kind of way that the same that, YouTube chaptering and content is already surfacing. It has been surfacing in Google search results. Yeah. So interesting, definitely worth being aware of if you're somebody who creates content, video content. Any final thoughts on Google I/O this week before we jump into the mailbag?
I think it's kind of telling that we had to dig to find their video creation tool and ask YouTube as the things we wanted to talk about. Yeah. And it's because again, so much of what they announced, we've already talked about other people doing. So yeah. I don't know. They'll probably do an excellent job at it. They'll make it really available to a lot of people, and hopefully we see some really exciting things come of it. But this could just be old man Chris coming out, because I have the same feeling about the iPhone. When I was younger, every new iPhone, those first couple generations, I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. Apple always nails it. I can't wait to see what they come up with. And now it's just better camera, better battery, faster processor that does who knows what, for me. So that's kind of what it felt like with Google I/O this year. It was okay, it's a bunch of AI stuff that seems familiar already. Fine, looks good. Move on, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's like I agree. Not exciting. I'm resistant to some of it, and if I've already like found other platforms to do some of those things, am I really going to change now? Am I
Yeah.
going to those things over to Google? Um, but I don't think it's a bad retention play for like their universe of people that maybe aren't doing these things elsewhere yet.
Yeah,
And now it's just
I don't think
why
so.
go anywhere else? I'll date myself. You brought up the iPhone. I remember my first reaction was, "There's no physical keyboard." Like that was a problem for me.
Man, I'm
uh,
still so stuck in that I crowdfunded this slide down physical keyboard BlackBerry style. It's
did you really?
yeah, I should hopefully get it in the next month or so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And frankly, it messes up so often that maybe we'd all be better going back to that anyway. All right. Let's jump into the mailbag. We have one from a home service business. Said I run a handyman business. Half my customers find me by Googling handyman near me or terms like that. What I actually want to know is, should I be doing anything different this week, or is all this stuff I can ignore for now? Well, we answered some of that. So much of it you can ignore.
Yeah.
Um,
The AI search results, we talked about this in a previous episode,
mhm,
but like when you're right now, at least when you're thinking about AI search results, just think about what people have been teaching about SEO for the
yeah.
forever, but like the most recent um, recommendations about SEO is like you really want to make sure, obviously, that you're producing useful content,
Mhm,
that your site is well crafted and mobile responsive, it loads quickly, but also that you're getting reviews. That's a
mhm.
really big thing, especially for a
Third party validation matters.
yeah, local service reviews. If you can get people to leave you reviews in Google, that's
Mhm,
really good for you ranking. Also, if people are talking about you in publicly available platforms like Reddit, uh,
mhm,
so if you have like a neighborhood or community Reddit that you can get people to mention you in, that could be a good thing to do. I was reading an article the other day from Google. It was
mhm,
one of their knowledge base articles about AI discovery, and they were basically saying this exact thing, that like
mhm,
if you want to rank in AI search, rank in traditional search, was
mhm,
basically what they were saying. And there's this thing that people, including myself, have talked about in the past called LLMs.txt. And it's
mhm.
like a version of your site that you're supposed to upload that is designed to be consumed by an LLM,
Yep.
by AI. And what they alluded to, they didn't say it directly in this knowledge base article, is like, yeah, we don't do anything special with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they were basically saying is LLM.txt, not that it's bad, but it doesn't do anything special when it comes to ranking your site. Um,
No, or at least not yet. Now, I would say, like, I think we talked about it on one of those previous episodes, and it was one of those like, is it going to help you right now? Nope, because they're not really doing anything with it. Is there harm in doing it in case they? Because I would say that, like, yes, the advice is the same advice that you would be given for traditional SEO, like Chris said. Make sure like your business profile is set up. Make sure that you have third party validation, like reviews. Make sure that, but like some things are a little different. Like and this is not entirely different, but maybe going back a while, it used to be like keyword stuffing and stuff like that. For a while now, even prior to AI search, like be conversational. It wants clear answers to specific questions. So make sure that you're not writing for bots, but rather writing for people, because that's actually what it's looking for now. But I would say one change and one difference, and this goes back to like the LLM.txt file, is like this is constantly changing because they're figuring out what works best and what surfaces the best results that people actually want to use, just like old world SEO. But it's changing faster. Like one week you'll see reports that Reddit is the top cited domain, and then 2 months later it's dropped to like 30th place. Like things are shifting quickly, as they figure out what works in terms of citations. And so I would just say, if you're not using an agency, I would stay close to it, because some of those things may suddenly shift. They may start valuing LLM.txt files. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe they'll just sit there wasting away on servers forever. Entirely possible. All right. Well, that's it for the mailbag. We like to, well, we'll get to Touchgrass in a moment. But I do want to say, like, there's a lot of information in what came out with Google I/O. A lot of it maybe not relevant to small business owners, entrepreneurs. Some of it is, but it's just not here yet. So we'll continue to talk about some of that stuff as it actually rolls out, if practical, if useful, if worth talking about on the show, for sure. Any final thoughts from you, Chris?
No, I mean, I think, like, well, yeah, I have one more. This is just to continue, continue shading Google a little bit. Like, we've been working on AI tools, and we released this sign-up form builder that is so cool. It's so fun to watch people experiment with it, build interesting things. And that process, going through that process, has just really pushed my bar. It's raised my bar for what we should be trying to achieve. And I think, like, that is why I am as disappointed as I was, or not disappointed, but just like meh as I was about Google I/O this year. It's because we, as a small team, have built something pretty cool. And yes, we're relying on other people's models to do that, but the actual interface and the output is really, really wonderful. So seeing some of these tools from Google where the output is just like meh, especially compared to Anthropic or OpenAI, it's like it feels like they're not the innovator that they used to be, you know?
Yeah, and maybe that is the case. I mean, these things, I mean, you know, big players are out in the market. And, you know, for what it's worth, Aweber is 15 days older than Google. So
I mean, this isn't me saying Google's not going anywhere. Like, they have this huge audience, and they're
that's what we were
doing
saying
enough,
earlier.
you know?
That's what we were saying earlier. They can afford to lag a little bit while they figure out where they want to go. And it seems that they're, you know, choosing to do that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, anybody who's watched the show before knows that we like to finish it out with our, what we call our Touchgrass segment. What, you know, talking about what we're going to do today, tomorrow, this weekend, this week, to kind of step away from AI, step away from technology, maybe recenter ourselves as human beings. And I would love to, as always, I'd love to hear, you know, in the chat here, drop in what you're going to be doing. Sometimes it gives me a good idea for something I should be doing this weekend. So by all means, drop it in there. Chris, what are you going to be doing?
So this is like a very specific thing. I had been trimming a bush alongside my house, and then this cardinal was just like freaking out and kind of almost dive bombing me. And I was like, what's going on? And then I was just about to chop in on this inside section of it, and I heard these little sounds, and there was a nest of tiny little cardinals. So I've left that bush alone for a while, and it's this crazy wilds now. But I checked in the other day, and the chicks are gone. So I'm going to be trimming that bush that was home to a family of cardinals.
It was nice of you to wait. I'm going to be maybe slightly less specific than yours, but for anybody into equestrian sports, the Devon Horse Show is in our area, and it's a 130-year-old horse show that runs every May and in the fall as well, but their main show is in May. And that kicked off this week. So I'm going to take the kids later this afternoon, and we're going to head over there. There's like part country fair, part carnival, and horse jumping competition. So it's always a lot of fun.
Cool.
And hopefully, you know, AI free at this point, but who knows? All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. We will be back with you on Tuesday with more distilling all the noise in AI and hopefully making it something practical that you can use to help run your small business better and get some of your time and your quality of life back, and time to focus on the things that you're passionate about. If you have questions for us, please go to aweber.com/shift and you can submit them there, or you can drop them in the comments on this video. You can also sign up for our newsletter that sends out several times a week with kind of all of the stuff that we didn't get to talk about in the show. It seems increasingly like we're running longer and longer, so maybe more stuff needs to go to the newsletter. But yeah, sign up there. Appreciate everybody being here, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Drew is really good at making other people look really good.
Stunning.
And with the help of AWeber's marketing platform, he's built an entire audience on his ability to turn heads. So even though Drew's just a team of one, it never really feels that way.
That's a wrap, folks. Come on out.
Drew uses AWeber. It's how teams of one get more done.
Oh, thanks, Tim. Have sweet. You're the best, Tim.
With AWeber, it's like he has a whole staff helping him grow his audience and build professional-looking content.
And send. You got it. Great job, team.
From automated email campaigns.
Oh, of course, sign up. You got it from here.
To insight-packed reports.
How are we looking on new subscribers? Is that the day we launch the new course? Nice.
AWeber gives Drew the freedom to go forth.
Hey.
And be Drew. AWeber. Time